climate change hoax argument. In fact, scientific studies show that humans have only a marginal effect on the world climate, and scientific evidence does not support the conclusion that humans are causing catastrophic climate change. Now, a couple of other things about the contest between Lee and McMullen. In 2016, when McMullen took on President Trump for the presidency, his primary objection against Trump was how immoral he was. But that isn't working against Lee, because Lee is clearly one of the most moral and well-respected members of the Senate. So the campaign against Lee by McMullen is mostly based on policy. And Lee is on the right side of almost every issue. Lee has become one of the most effective voices in America for constitutional conservative values. Hopefully, Utah will not fire Lee to elect an egotist who supports the left wing's extreme climate change agenda. Remember, that climate change agenda is a hoax. McMullen is a hoaxer, and his only hope for winning in Utah is to get the Democrats to support him and to divide the Republican vote so that a lot of the Republicans will also vote for him. Now, another thing that is affecting the campaign in Utah is that Lee has been accused of supporting the insurrection on January 6th. So he's lumped in there together with Senators Cruz and Hawley. Now, we've previously talked about what happened there on two different episodes of the closing argument. And Lee is clearly in the right, as are Cruz and Hawley. He had every right to legally and lawfully seek to overturn the election results in the states if they could get evidence that they were not proper, and they tried and they didn't succeed, and thereafter they had to abandon that. So one additional item that is very interesting here, Senator Romney has not endorsed Mike Lee for re-election. He says he's staying out of those races, but his failure to endorse Lee is an implicit support for his friend, Evan McMullin. And if Evan McMullin is successful in his campaign against Lee, this would give Utah a second senator like Romney, who will support the flawed and destructive policies of Biden and the far left on too many issues. McMullen needs to lose in November, and Romney needs to be defeated 2 years after that. So in summary, what I see in Evan McMullin, and I haven't met him, so it's just what I see from afar. I see someone who has a very high opinion of himself and who believes and is trying to work as an independent to gain influence, including to be a senator. Now, any independent who gets elected, that is extremely difficult. It is so difficult to gain enough support as an independent to be elected to anything. And we know Ross Perot, he ended up getting, I think, about 20% of the vote when he ran against George Herbert Walker Bush many years ago. He was rich and had the ability to do that. He was kind of a charismatic guy. That is very unusual, and he wasn't successful. McMullen does not have nearly the money, and it's just virtually impossible. And there's no prospect that I can see that he will succeed. But we shall see. But he also is running against the very popular, the very articulate spokesman for conservative values in Mike Lee, and this is not just this is maybe partly a referendum about Trump in Utah, but I don't think so. Lee has been pretty independent, and I think he's not dependent on President Trump at all. So I expect McMullen will lose, and eventually I guess he will go away. As one who's been involved in local politics, I don't always agree with the heads of my party in Maryland or wherever, but the Republican Party is more closely aligned to my views than the Democrat Party, and so therefore I have run as a Republican the 4 times I ran, and I was successful 2 and unsuccessful 2 times for various reasons. But in the case of Lee, you can't just paste the Trump views and character on Lee. Lee has successfully recognized you got to work within the party if you want to get elected and have an opportunity to have an influence on the national stage, which he has done. Anyway, I hope that is somewhat interesting. We'll see what the results are of that Utah primary. And that concludes our discussion for today. If you're interested in some of my views on the climate change hoax and other matters like that, you're welcome to go and check my website, cpaulsmith.com. Just remember this: the liberties we enjoy in America can be maintained only when its citizens are moral and informed participants in our democratic processes. The closing argument can help us do this. See you next time. This is Paul Smith.